VIU Online presents GEC 101 English Composition, Week 5, Practical Lecture, The Fundamentals of the Language Process. This lecture is presented by Dr. Laura Hills, Professor of English at Virginia International University. We learned this week that symbols can be ambiguous. Meanings are in people, not words. But what does that mean practically? It means that we need to be precise. When we write, precision will ensure that we say exactly what we mean. Let's take an example from our theoretical lecture this week. One of those examples was someone says, "That's a lot of money." Now on the right side, we have several possible precise meanings of that sentence. It could mean, "That's more money than I budgeted for this purchase." It could mean, "That's a high price for such an item as this." It could mean, "I'd rather do something else with this money than buy X with it." It could mean, "I must be pretty well off to be able to afford this." Or it could mean, "My spouse will be upset with me if I spend that much." Or it could be many other meanings. You see how very different the meaning is when we're more precise. So in your writing, push yourself beyond the emotional sentence and go with the precise meaning. That's the first example. Here's another, also from our theoretical lecture. Remember we said the temperature outside is unbearable. Now that's not a literal sentence. It's bearable. But we say it's unbearable to convey an emotion. Which emotion? Well, we could mean, "This heat is making it impossible for me to sleep." It could mean, "It's so hot that if I spend time outside I may faint." Or, "I'd rather do just about anything than go outside in this heat." Or it could simply mean, "I'm staying indoors where the air conditioning is on." Again, being more precise in your meaning will make your writing better. A third example. She spends hardly any time doing housework. What do we mean? Well, there's a lot of emotion attached to that. It could mean, "Her house is a mess, you should see it." Or, "She has a maid who does the housework." Or, "She is very successful in her career and has little time for anything else, including housework." Or, "She has a small apartment and no children, so there's not that much housework for her to do." Or, "Her husband does the housework, isn't she lucky?" We don't know from saying she spends hardly any time doing the housework. We need more precision. Sometimes we choose creative ambiguity to mask a message. But what does that mean practically? Well, remember these examples. Someone says to you, "Did you have a good time at my party?" Here are some of the things you can say on the right side to be purposely ambiguous. You could say, "I met a lot of interesting people at your party." Or, "The food was really good." Or, "I thought your choice of music was just perfect." Or, "It was good to get out of the house. Everyone seemed to have such a good time." Or, "You did such a good job. It was such a good party." None of that answers the question, did you have a good time at my party? When the answer is no, you may choose one of those more creatively ambiguous answers to mask your real feeling and spare your friend's feelings. Or another example. "Do you like the sweater I bought you?" Let's say you hate it. You could say, "I think it's such a beautiful color." Or, "I'm so impressed with the quality." Or, "It fits me perfectly." Or, "How did you know I've always wanted a blue sweater? Maybe not this one, but I always wanted one." Or, "I didn't have anything like it in my wardrobe." Again, we're creatively ambiguous. Or, "Isn't my girlfriend beautiful?" That's a tough one. You're not going to say, "No, she's very ugly." But you are going to say, "She has an exotic look that's very striking." Or you might say, "She has such lovely eyes." Or, "I think she's wonderful." Or, "She's one of a kind." her look is extraordinary, or she's stunning. The person will think you mean in a good way, but you may mean she's stunning in quite another. The connotative meaning of words includes the feelings and emotions people attach to them. But what does that mean practically? We must be mindful that words may seem to mean something different to you than they do to someone else. Look at these words. If you got 10 people together and said, define happiness, probably you'd get 10 different answers. What is a school? What's comfortable? What is young or old changes as we age? What's a family? What's a pet? What is work, money, love, career? What is a marriage? What is debt, war, or fun? Now we can have a denotative meaning and look those words up in the dictionary, but when we get to the connotative meaning, different people will interpret those words very differently depending upon their own experience of life. So we can't expect people to be mind readers. If I say I'm teaching a class, I'm lecturing in front of a large group of people and you walk in and I say to you, you're late, what am I really saying? Am I just making a statement of fact? Thank you. I'm exactly 7 minutes late. Thank you for letting me know. No. I'm making a statement. You are late and you were not supposed to be. I am unhappy with you. If I say you're so funny, again, what am I really saying? Or it's hot in here. Let's say you're sitting next to the thermostat and I say, it's hot in here. What are you going to say? Are you going to say, thanks for letting me know that? Or are you going to say, let me lower the thermostat? If I come home and my husband says, the dog needs to go outside for a walk, is he giving me information? No, he's asking me to walk the dog. Or if he says, we're out of milk, put it on the shopping list. In my house growing up, I remember my fathers would sit at the dinner table after a long day of work. And if he wanted something, he'd ask my mother for it. So if he wanted butter, he'd say, Janice, is there any butter? Now, I have to tell you, in all the years growing up in my home, there was never a single day where there was not butter in our house. There was always butter. So his question was not, is there any butter? Because he knew the answer would be yes. But he said, Janice, is there any butter? To say, would you bring me butter? But without saying it directly. You see, people are saying things that aren't literally what they mean. And in our writing, this is where we have to be very careful. We do this in conversation, but in academic writing, precision is key. So here are some other examples. I have a headache. That means leave me alone. I just painted that chair is not a statement of fact. It's saying don't sit in it. If my husband comes home and I say, I'm starving, it means it's time to eat. I'm so tired, leave me alone. If he says his cousin's birthday is on Tuesday, this is not a point of fact. I have to do some things about that. We need a card, we need a gift. So in speech, we do this all the time. In academic writing, though, we must be more precise than this. Language tends to be polarized. We have words for opposing emotional positions, but not the in-betweens. But what does that mean practically? It means, again, we need precision, and we have to avoid using a polarized word if it's not accurate. What's the difference between thin and fat if you're somewhere in the middle? Well, you could say the person is curvaceous. If you're trying to convey that a person is neither short nor just tall, you could say he's gargantuan, which means huge. If it's not new and it's not old, maybe it's slightly used. If it's not neat and not sloppy, maybe we write that it's slightly unkempt. If the person is not young or old, we might describe her as middle-aged. If it's not new or used, as gently worn. And if a person is not smart and not stupid, we might be precise in saying above average intelligence. Be mindful that your language, English, has been polarized. We're conditioned to think in terms of opposites, but a lot of life occurs in the in-between. In academic writing, choose words that are more accurate. Don't fall prey to the polarized word if it doesn't suit. When we're rhetorically sensitive, we review all of the available symbols and use the one that's least likely to offend our reader. We also need to be precise in our meaning. This concludes the practical lecture for week 5.